How come this is the only war that the results waver so frequently? If his hands were up, they were winning. Hands are down, losing. Up, winning. Down, losing. In no other wars in the Chumash does it speak about that the wars they changed so drastically. And number 5, it was the only time in the history of the Torah that it speaks about that Moshe was weak. He had to have Aaron and Hur holding up his hands. He couldn't do it by himself. Why couldn't he hold up his hands? He was so strong, so physically strong. This is the only time that he shows physical debility in the Torah. And the answer is, the Ber Yosef goes and it says that in order to understand this, you have to understand what the Jews were thinking about, what their mindset was before the war. And in fact, before the war, the Jews actually doubted if God is with them. And they said in Exodus chapter 17, verse 7, Hayesh Hashem b'kilbenu im ayin. Is God with us or not? And the question is, why are you asking that? God just did the 10 plagues. He did so many miracles, splitting of the sea. He did so many miracles. Why are you really asking if God is with you now? You saw so many things. Why would you doubt it? So the idea behind this that explains the Ber Yosef is that they thought maybe there's still a possibility, right? Remember, we're stubborn people. Maybe Moses did everything. Maybe Moses was such a great magician, so great that he was the one who orchestrated everything. Somehow he was able to do it. Maybe he didn't. How do we know that God is with us? So Moses says, oh, you see that? I'm going to withdraw myself from the war, and we're going to see how that works. And the idea is further, is that you see this, that the Jewish people in Exodus chapter 16, verse 3, they said to Moses, you took us out of Egypt. They didn't say God took us out of Egypt. They said, you took us out of Egypt. Furthermore, when they wanted to water in Exodus chapter 17, verse 2, they said, they told Moses, give us water so we could drink, as if Moses is in control of everything, and he's the one who's in charge of the water. They thought at that point in time, explains the Ber Yosef, that Moses was doing everything. So this is how everything was orchestrated to show that Moses was nothing to do with the picture, and he pulled himself out. We're in the war of Amalek. All of a sudden, what happens? He's not involved in the war. He says, you're going to win the war without me. And he goes and he makes it crystal clear that you're going to win the war without him. He's standing on the sidelines. Not only is he standing on the sidelines, he's not using his trusty staff, which so many miracles happen, all the plagues, all the splitting, so many things happen with his staff. He's not using that for the war. Furthermore, the battle wavers. If his hands are up, they're successful. The hands are down, they're weak. They're losing. So you think, aha, maybe this proves that Moses is in fact doing everything. Because when his hands are up, that shows that he has the power to win us over. But when his hands are down, that means he doesn't have the ability. But then the question is, if he has the power to win, you don't think he has the power to hold up his own hands? He can't hold up his own. He needs to have 2 people holding up his hands because he was physically weak from it. And furthermore, what was he doing when he was putting up his hands? He was pointing at heaven. He says, you look at heaven. If you have the emunah and bitachon in God, you'll win the war. And this is a very, very important lesson in life. If you have faith and belief in God, you'll be very successful. If you don't have, if you think if you think everything is up to me, everything is dependent on how much work and effort I put in it, which is true, you do have to put work and effort into it. But if you think the bottom line is depending on what I do, then you're not going to be successful. Moses was saying, forget about how strong you are. Forget about how much of a winning streak that you are. If you look up to heaven, he pointed his hands up. If you go to heaven, if you look up to God, and then when he pointed up, the Jews looked up to get to heaven, and they saw, you know what? We're only successful because of God. That's when they won.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.